Welcome back to the Roanoke Presents From Print podcast. I'm your host, Liz Long, and today we're talking stand-up. Laughs, giggles, chuckles, snickers, chortles, and cackles. Comedy is booming right now. From arena tours like Nate Bargatze at the Berglund Center to a plethora of streaming specials, it's clear people are craving laughs, and lucky for us, Roanoke is ready to deliver. Thanks to the Roanoke Comedy Fest, a multi-day celebration of punchlines, performers, and community connection, the folks behind it are total pros. Joining me today are Johnny Camacho, a writer, performer, and Roanoke Mag 2021 40 Under 40 alum, as well as Taylor Reschka, a sharp-witted comic and co-producer of the fest and one of our regular photographers. Thanks for all those beautiful home shots. We appreciate you. Together, they're helping turn Roanoke into a comedy destination, putting both rising stars and local legends on the mics. 2025 promises to be the biggest year yet. More shows, bigger names, and even more chances to join in the fun yourself. From laughing at the experienced comedians bringing their acts to town and brunch shows where women absolutely bring the house down, to workshops where you can write your first joke or learn the beauty of improv, this year's lineup is all about energy, inclusivity, and good vibes. Johnny, Taylor, thank you for being on the show today.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Glad to have you. So let's talk about the inspiration behind Roanoke Comedy Fest. I believe you started it a few years ago. What made you decide that we needed this here in town?
Well, I had some experience. I was living in New York City for a while, and during that time, kind of immersed myself into comedy and was working at a club called Caroline's on Broadway, right in the heart of Times Square. Huge headliners. I was getting to, produce Sarah Silverman and J.B. Smoove and D.L. Hughley and all these people who had grown up worshiping. And what they were involved in, one of Caroline's many avenues, was the New York Comedy Fest, which was Madison Square Garden, the Bell House, Brooklyn Academy of Music. And so when I came back to Roanoke, the idea of a multi-venue, multi-day festival with diverse shows scattered across a weekend was something that I was very familiar with. And so just tried to get it together for 2020, but that didn't work out.
Little thing.
I ran into a hiccup there. So 2021 was the first. And since then, it's just kind of grown and developed. And the first couple of years, I tried to do it all myself, which was an
endeavor, yes.
Yeah, huge undertaking. But this year, I'm very fortunate to have Taylor. Catherine Rogue is on board with us. And so it's a one team, one dream situation.
Yeah.
I've been very grateful. But yeah, I mean, that the festival has been near and dear to my heart for a very long time.
So I'm looking at our lineup here, which, we'll put on our website as well, but it's totally stacked lineup, which we'll get into in a little bit. But I want to talk about maybe how the festival has grown since your initial and, your first time trying to put this thing on.
Right. I think year one, we might have had like 8 or 9 very small shows. I used kind of my existing comedy connections to bring in some headliners. But, now we've got...
Tons.
I think this year we've got tons and tons of shows, probably too many.
No way.
If anyone out there is planning to do all of these, I'll give you a cookie on Sunday. But no, I mean, we've got bigger acts this year. Sponsors have come in and really, helped us be in a position to target bigger comedians and not have to sweat every single ticket sale. Just hoping to break even, because the economics of an event like this can be very, very tricky. But through generous support from all kinds of local institutions and businesses, we've been able to put our best foot forward, I think.
Yeah, and I love that people are participating in this. I love that you have all these different locations. So it's not just about showing off these great comedians. You're also showing off parts of Roanoke, not just necessarily to people who are coming from out of town or tourists who might just want to come see the stand-up act, but, locals who maybe they haven't been in the Spot on Kirk yet for some silly reason, or they haven't been to have a beer at Big Lick Brewery. I don't know why. But these are great opportunities for you to show off Roanoke as well.
Absolutely. And I mean, every single one of these places that we're partnering with, from Five Points to Twin Creeks and Vinton to, Old Salem and Big Lick, all of these are places I just enjoy.
Yeah,
right? And
absolutely.
So it's you're just as likely to find me at any of these places if there's not a festival happening.
Yeah.
And I love that people come in from the New River Valley, people come from Lynchburg and Lexington, and we get to show off some of these places that are so near and dear to our heart around here.
So let's talk about the current state of comedy in Roanoke. You talked about coming from New York, so probably a little bit of a culture shock comedy wise. But in thinking about Roanoke, you're fitting this need, right, that maybe we didn't have before, and so you're offering an opportunity to bring stand-up comedy to Roanoke. I'm curious about what you think about the scene of comedy in Roanoke right now.
Well, yeah, I'll step in because I was really Roanoke has always been hungry for comedy. I think it was 2-3 years ago I did a show at Brady's Distillery. I was like, I should do a show. We'll see what happens. And we had 120 people show up, and I just said, everyone bring your chairs, and everyone's like, deal, done. Yeah. So just people wanting comedy. I've always been blown away at how many people just want to be there and just really enjoy taking a load off, let someone else entertain for you, let someone think for you in a way. Just like, have you ever thought about this? Yes, I have thought about this. And connecting through comedy, because comedy's not just, hey, let's have laughs. It's all about connecting with people, because if you don't connect with your audience, it's not going to be fun.
You're dead in the water.
Exactly. So showing people not only that we can have big acts here, but also all the smaller acts that we have, like the community showcases, the workshops, all that kind of stuff can really show not only people from out of town how much great comedy's in Roanoke, but also just people who live here. I mean, Johnny's been putting on a mic at Big Lake Brewing twice a month. Something like that, and that was my first foray back into comedy after a huge break, and I was just like, everyone's cheating sometimes. Like, as a stand-up, you try to do that same act somewhere else at like a bar, and then no one's paying attention. You're like, it worked great at Big Lake because Johnny and other people love comedy so much. They're there to be entertained.
Yeah, and I want to get into that because I love comedy is not always 100% laughs, right? Like sometimes you're going to have a little lull, or like how do you handle that kind of pressure on stage? And you might get into a lot of that in the workshops. I'm very excited to attend a couple of the workshops myself. That stand-up workshop at Big Lake at 12 p.m. on Saturday I'm going to be front row because I love the idea of being able to learn how to write more humor into my writing, not even necessarily going up on a stage, but like when you go up there and you spend all this time creating the set and a joke, like what happens when it doesn't land?
Bourbon helps. I will say.
Touche.
I mean, there is nothing in this world like pouring your whole heart and soul into entertaining people and just having the most sad, disappointed eyes staring at you. Like the amount of disappointment that I have wrung out of poor audiences along my many years of doing this could power probably the Bitcoin network. It's a really distressing situation, but you do become, I never want to say you get used to it, but it's not something after a while that you carry with you as a mark of personal failure.
Okay, fair enough.
Right. And sometimes, I did a show in a church basement, and they realized within 90 seconds that was a terrible booking decision.
Because of the content or the location?
Right. Yes. All of it.
Yes.
All of it. Okay. But part of learning to be a stand-up or an improv comic is learning to just laugh at your own failures and shake it off and bring your best show to the next audience, because you're only, for every time I've bombed, I've had 10 great sets.
Right.
And those are what keep me going. And you have to do it because you enjoy it.
Yep.
If your entire identity as a comedian is the last reaction you got from an audience member, you're going to drive yourself crazy.
And I would like to assume that everybody's been there. Every comic has bombed a set or a joke or whatever. Even Sarah Silverman and Nate and all these people that you think of these great big names. Oh, they've never had that problem before. Like, no, they've definitely been there sometime at some point in their lives.
100%.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And you have different, you have all these people that are like, I'm going to try stand up and bring my whole workplace there. And they have a great set. And then they'll come back 2 weeks later with that not happening. And then they're
what
just
do you
like,
expect?
What happened? Where did all the laughs go? Like, I don't know. And you can always tell if the audience is into it too. Like, they're rooting for you. Because I've definitely had a bomb, and you look at the front person in the row, and they just got a frown on the face. I'm like, they're not here with it. But it's the audiences that you look at, and you do a joke, and they're just like, and?
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that was it. I need to rewrite. And you kind of learn what's the audience not trying to be into it, and what's I need to write better. And it's fun to navigate that.
That's an interesting point, because it's not necessarily that the joke is bad, or maybe it's just a weird, like you said, a church crowd is not necessarily going to get the joke that the brewery crowd's going to enjoy. Like, those are my two real obvious opposite examples. But in thinking about, again, so one of my questions later was to talk about if you want to be a stand-up comedian, what are the things you should be doing or thinking about? And we can get into that. But in terms of how you write a joke, like, how do you write the jokes? Not all jokes are for everybody. Right. So, like, how do you determine? You don't have two sets and one in your back pocket where you're like, okay, I got to flip to this set real quick, right?
I'm starting to write one. Because like I had a recent experience. I did a bar show and I bombed completely. And I'm not one for like potty humor or like gross out stuff. Not that that's not good. I find that funny as well. But I did the same set at a different location and it did great. So I've been asking other headliners and features because I want to feature more. Like how do I get to feature more? And a lot of them's like you got to be able to get the bar crowd and get the comedy crowd. Not that the bar crowd is different, but the people are there for comedy, and then the people are like, oh, this is something to do. Yeah. So having some maybe jokes in my back pocket that is maybe a little more out of pocket might be beneficial, but I haven't done that yet. How about you?
Well, yeah, I do at this point have a well of material large enough to kind of pull what I think may work for the specific crowd and environment. And my particular strategy for clean comedy is I don't do it.
Well,
so the number of times, like I've tried, people say, "Oh, we need 20 minutes clean," and I'm like, "Well, you know, maybe bring some bleach, scrub out the inside of my head because that's not how I work." But I mean, just about understanding, you know, who you are as a comedian, and being able to steer clear of the shows you really have no business being on. I mean, it's part of the alchemy of putting together a lineup, is understanding how these comics' humor will work not just with the audience and the place, but with the other people on the lineup. You know, you don't want a lineup that's entirely manic white man. And
please,
you know, right? Yeah, we call it Congress. And no, I mean, you really do have to take that into account. And so I find that increasingly I'm able to maybe steer clear of the shows and the audiences that aren't going to like me because I have enough self-awareness to know who...
That's great advice, though.
Yeah, I think a little bit of self-awareness in comedy goes a very long way.
Well, I mean, you think about it, because a hungry comic who's just starting out, they want to do all of it, right? They want to take on everything. And then they're going to wonder, why did I bomb when I dropped 6 F-bombs in the church basement? Like, well, that's probably got a little something to do with it. But it really speaks to you as a stand-up comedian and comedians in general, like how fast your brain has to work on stage. If that joke doesn't land, you not only have to get over my thin skin hurt feelings, quite frankly, because I'd be like, oh, nobody laughed at that joke. That's a real shame. But like then you have to keep going and maybe even tweak something that you're already kind of used to from memory, like to make sure that it's maybe hopefully land, you know? So you're really thinking on your feet, even if you have memorized a set or have gone in knowing what some of your material is going to be.
Right.
Yeah, and sometimes not even the content. Like, sometimes you're talking too fast and they can't hear you. Sometimes you're pausing at the wrong point. Like, comedy, it's not to be so much of a nerd about it. There are so many factors in comedy when it comes to audience, your cadence, how you talk, who you're talking to. Just, I've had sets where I was like, I thought that was pretty good. My wife's been like, I can hear every third word. You need to put, like, mic placement is huge. There's some people that are really funny out there and you can't hear the punchlines because they have their mic too close. There's a comedian, Jake Snyder, that I really like, and sometimes he misspeaks, but he knows it. So then he knows how to capitalize in it. There's so much to comedy.
No, like, well, I know I talk too fast. I'm great for podcasts because people put those things on speed. But like, I would totally have to be that I mean, my radio guy used to be like, you gotta like slow down. We gotta have to turn you down because you just talk so fast and these older people aren't gonna understand what the heck you're saying. So that's interesting that like these little, I don't know, personal flaws that you kind of have to tweak to make sure that you're sort of thinking about your audience and your act. So that's very interesting.
100%. And, you know, I find, when I started doing comedy, and I think this is a trap that a lot of people fall into, they see these great comedians who seem to be having like an organic, on-the-spot conversation. And so I would just go out on stage. I try to wing it. I thought I was Sinbad. I was like, you know, I would go out.
That's not a name I've heard in a long time.
Oh, yeah. I like to keep it topical, you know.
Very 90s.
I like to keep it topical for sure. But, you know, it is very, very dangerous to go out and just try to wing it. And what I found is that the more regimented I got about actually writing and memorizing my material, the more I went out there with just that set embedded in muscle memory, the freer I was to capitalize on those moments where something different happened.
Makes sense.
An audience member has a peculiar laugh, or they say something that really kind of captures my imagination. I have to have a mastery of my own material in order to play in those spontaneous moments.
Spoken like an expert at his craft. I mean, quite frankly, right? Like, we all need to make sure that we understand the rules of grammar before we write a story, or, you know,
Right.
I mean,
Right.
really. Have you ever had one of those moments, like, where you go up there and you just kind of blank out? And maybe not you, because you've had tons of experience now, but like in your early years, did you ever one of those total panic moments, like, oh my God?
100%.
Okay. Ooh, okay. That makes me feel better.
Yeah. Just riding back an hour and a half on the F train. Just, what an idiot. You're so stupid.
So people are avoiding you in the car. Got it. They're not going near that guy.
Yeah, no. And I mean, the trash bag didn't help either that I was wearing. But it was a different time. Heroin chic.
Yeah. Yeah. So I want to talk again about Roanoke and comedy in Roanoke, because I think that's great. But also, we were talking right before we started the episode, we were talking about sitting front row at places. And so I want to talk a little bit about this. So the reason why is because I just got back from New York like last week. Amazing. Loved it. My second time visiting, but we got to go into the underground. So we were going to go to Comedy Cellar, and we're like, actually, they got this little, Sunday night. So let's go around the corner and go to underground. And so we ended up, they don't tell you who it is. You got to wait in line, and then you go in, and the guy takes a look at our licenses, says, you want to sit front row? And my husband, before I could even be like, he's like, yep, absolutely.
Oh, man.
Oh, God, here we go. So we go in. We're literally right by the drummer, who's awesome and very nice and not blowing out our eardrums, which was very considerate of him. But we are looking up these comedians' nostrils, like front row center. And he starts heckling my husband and asking where we're from and all that kind of thing. And like, I have to remind myself that everybody's there for a good time. Everybody's there to be heckled. Like, there's no real embarrassment in this place. How do you react to audiences or interact with audiences, particularly those who might want to be heckled? We talked a little bit about that. Like, how do you engage with them so that it doesn't go overboard, or maybe even sneak into your own act where you're throwing a chair across the stage angrily? Taylor Reschka?
You don't know this story. That's
about
part
to.
It's part of my game that I wish I could get better at. And I actually am kind of what you're saying now that I have a mastery of what I say. It's easier to talk to people. But when I'm first starting out, anyone says anything, you're like, you're interrupting my speech. I had this prepared and I practiced.
I've been memorized all this. Like, if I get off one word, I'm screwed.
And like very early in my career, I was also like, you got to be polite and you got to be nice and you got to just rules in general.
You are polite and nice, though.
Yeah. And this person wouldn't stop talking, and eventually they were like, I'm helping. And that just snapped something in my brain. And I was just like, you ain't helping shit. And I threw the chair across the room away from them, not at
Bobby
them.
Knight style, just in the other direction.
And I'm not that kind of person.
Right.
So, like, I took a large break, but it's...
Maybe saw a therapist,
Rage. Not many. Not enough, I should say. But... what I learned now is kind of what Johnny talked about before. If I am just comfortable with who I am, that moment isn't going to be as effective as people. And now with lots of comedians getting traction because they're getting heckled on social media now, like from back when everyone wanted to sit behind, they didn't want anyone to talk to them, and now people are rushing for the front row because they want to be involved in these clips, and that's a huge change for me.
What I really liked at Underground, they put your phones in an envelope, and you're not allowed to even so much as like look at that envelope while it's on your table. Ooh. And so they put your phones away, and then you're not allowed to take them out until after you're like the whole thing's done, the lights are on, the comedians are gone. So when Judah Friedlander showed up, I really wanted a photo of Frank from 30 Rock, but oh well. But I thought that was, so when you were talking about clips, I thought that was interesting that some spaces are like, nope, not involved. They're working new material. We don't want you to put that out there on the internet if they're not ready for it or whatever. I thought that was really interesting. Have you been heckled before?
Oh yeah? Absolutely. And
so wild to me.
I like to draw a distinction between crowd work and heckling. I personally, maybe as a host, I do some crowd work, but crowd work is a mutual relationship between audience and performer. My husband wanted to be
in front row. He knew what was going to happen. They were cool with it.
Right. Yeah. And, heckling is... rude. It's rude. I like to remind people that comedy is live theater. Like, you don't go to a Showtimer's production of Death of a Salesman and scream at Willie Loman for being a schlub. You know what I mean?
Save that for later.
Yeah. No, I'm just like, I really like when I've had great experiences on stage interacting with the audience. I mean, I've gotten 5, 10, 15 minutes out of a person just because so many interesting details came to the surface. Like our last open mic, we had a guy who sold timeshares. And so I was like...
Lots to work with there, I guess.
Yeah. I was like, but occasionally you're like, what do you do for a living? And they're like, I'm a pediatric nurse. And I'm like, okay, well, you just ruined my evening. How am I going to make fun of you?
Judah asked somebody what they did, and she said esthetician. He literally was like, I don't know what that is. And you could see him going like, oh, shit.
I was just, last year I was in Los Angeles and had the opportunity to go to the Comedy Store. It was my first time there. And we got sat in the front row. And this comic, one of these up-and-coming LA comics came out. He had only been on stage for like 90 seconds. And he goes, "Where are you from, sir?" And I literally said, "Oh, no." And he could just see in my face. He's like, "Oh, the gummies kicked in. I don't need to mess with this guy." And so he left me alone.
Yeah.
But I mean, I felt uncomfortable in that environment as somebody who.
That's very interesting, considering you're used to being on stage that way.
I am.
Yeah.
It made me feel bad about all those front row schmucks that I've made fun of over the years.
Start handing out gummies to them at your shows. That's what you got to do.
You know what?
There's a
From
heck
your
of an
mouth to
idea.
God's ears, huh?
Yeah, come on, Virginia, let's go. Anyway, before we get on that, so let me I want to talk about your comedy backgrounds. I know we learned a little bit about yours, but what made you want to get into it in the first place? Like, were you a kid thinking, I want to make people laugh? Like, what was it about it that drew you in? You were like, I got to do this.
I grew up in Bath County, Virginia, which of course is a notorious comedy hotbed.
Obviously.
And
Hot tub.
I think I was about, 27 when we got cable. So yeah,
3 channels
it
most
took
of your
a
life.
while,
Yeah.
but basically, I joke about it, but we really did have like 4 channels for most of my childhood.
Hear that, Gen Z? We used to live like...
I know,
Yeah.
Up the hill both ways.
Pilgrims, man.
Yeah, covered wagon type stuff. But I remember I got when we got cable, and I turned on Comedy Central, and it just stayed there for the rest of my life. Like, and I grew up watching like Brian Regan and Louis C.K. and I loved stand-up comedy from a young age. The first time I ever performed stand-up, I was 13, and it was at the Bath County High School talent show.
I love it. How'd you do?
I crushed like 800 people.
Obviously.
I've been chasing that ferry ever since, But it was, that's where I got the bug, was hearing hundreds of people laugh at my material was addictive.
Something about that, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
And, so from that point on, and then I was a theater major in college, and my favorite roles were the ones where I got to be funny and kind of explore that side. And I moved to New York, and I studied at the Upright Citizens Brigade all the way up through their advanced conservatory. So I've been breathing this stuff for more than half of my life.
You've done the work.
Yeah.
Yeah. How about you, Taylor?
Mine's a little, not opposite, but kind of melodramatic. When I was younger, my dad was showing me comedy, and I lived in the middle of nowhere, Upper Peninsula of Michigan, so there wasn't really a lot of stuff to do. So my dad was introducing me to like Blazing Saddles and Gallagher, stuff really good for a 5-year-old. But when I was 12, my mother passed from lung cancer, and I don't know what I said or what happened, but I said something and it made my dad belly laugh, and just him laughing and making him feel better when this is literally the worst time of his life and mine, that was like, ooh, this is a great feeling. I get to make people forget. I get to make people happy, and then they like me more. Like, a little kid cares about how people like them. So from there, it was, just consuming comedy content, watching Comedy Central Presents, all that kind of stuff, and then just seeing, my dad also being into that kind of stuff and be able to bond over that. And
I love that, though.
Yeah, and then like I took a huge break when I got married because I started writing material that I thought was clever. And then I did a joke that I've always done. It's a dumb little pun, and someone fell out of their chair laughing. And instead of being like, yes, I got one, I said, that person's stupid. And I was like, yeah, I need to take a break.
That's interesting that you found your own work like, okay, I'm done with this joke. Like,
Yeah. But yes, it's weird to like write something that's good, but then I was caring more about being clever and being like that comedian's like, oh, that was a good writing thing, rather than someone's laughing and forgetting.
That's an interesting point. Not that I wouldn't say it's ego, but it feels a little like ego, right?
Oh,
You're serving
absolutely.
yourself instead of the audience you're trying to connect
And now
with.
that I do comedy, I realize I can have both.
Yeah.
I can write because I think I want it to be funny, and then those people will find me.
Yeah.
And that's what social media has been doing. Like, yeah, the heckling clips is a little weird, but it also, if you're into like really nerdy stuff, I can just put all my nerdy stuff on,
Yeah.
and then those people will find me rather than, oh, I got to cater to everybody all the time.
That's such a good point. That's such a good point. Because I don't think I would be thick-skinned enough to be a comedian myself, but I love the idea of stand-up. I've had people like, God, you're funny, and I'm like, oh, I like making people laugh. That's like one of my favorite things. Like, I'm like you. I hear people laugh. I'm like, crushed it, yes. But, in thinking about how you go up there and do that and things changing so frequently, but I love the idea of connecting to something that you connect with. You're not hitting every single topic that you think is going to interest people, but it's delving into whatever it is that you are very interested in and can make a silly joke of. Like, I think that's really key. You talked about sort of connecting with yourself, and I think that's a really great point in being a great stand-up comedian.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's what Johnny said earlier too. Is just like you master yourself, you master your craft. Things are gonna go right.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, so thinking about the actual comedy weekend, let's get back to that, I guess, because I could talk about this all day. And by the way, you're each going to have to tell me some of your favorite jokes after we break for this. Okay. But in thinking about the weekend, so this is amazing. We're going to have it on our website too, and we're going to share everything to your website because you guys have just this massive lineup, amazing comedians. Really excited about this. Let's walk through it. What can first-time attendees expect from this festival? And you could tell me. I'm your first-time attendee, so.
Okay. Well, I think what you can expect is a lineup that we have built from the ground up to be diverse, to provide a lot of different experiences. I have had, events in the past where kind of in hindsight, there weren't enough points of view represented. And we've really tried. There's something for everybody. Like the people who are going to love Rich Voss are not necessarily the people who are going to love Caitlin Cook or Brandy Augustus, but there's going to be something for everybody. And so just take a look at our lineup, do a little research on the comedians, go to our page to learn more about the shows we've got planned, and there will be something that interests you. We've got an all female lineup doing a brunch show.
I'm gonna be front row on that. Please don't pick on me, anybody. But like, that's gonna be fun.
I'll put in a good word. Yeah. And I mean, Rich Voss, he's been a dream booking for me for a long time.
Oh, that's exciting.
Absolutely. When he was a finalist on Last Comic Standing.
Right. First time you brought him here to this weekend.
Yep.
Okay.
He used to play. So Rich has a history of playing at the old Roanoke Comedy Club. The one that was in the basement of the hotel, I believe.
That little tiny space downstairs. Yeah. Okay.
And so, and that's another interesting thing about Roanoke comedy is like late 80s, early 90s, there was this boom. Like it was, you could almost make a living, within 100 miles as a comedian. And then there was this long stretch of desert where, there weren't really shows happening on a regular basis. But this is kind of a homecoming for Rich Voss in a way.
That's really cool.
Yep. And so that's the one maybe that I would encourage people to really check out if they're only going to do one, which not advisable.
Yeah, you need to do all of it.
You need to do all of it. But Rich Voss is an incredible talent, just fresh off the Rogan podcast, over 100 Comedy Central appearances.
Wow.
Staff writer for the Academy Awards. Like he's a big deal.
That's really awesome.
Yeah.
Very cool. Any opportunity for people to meet these comedians outside of like the workshops or improv? Just curious in case people wanted to know.
We hadn't talked about it, but if they're up for it, I hope they, after the show, have their merch and stuff talk like that. I know comedians, while they look standoffish, more like, oh, you want to talk to me? Sweet.
Yeah, we're more like golden retrievers, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Do it.
Exactly. Like I said before, it's like, I don't do this for attention. Not completely, but some.
Just a little attention.
Just a little bit.
Just as a treat.
Exactly. I've been categorized as a golden retriever husband, and they're not wrong.
Golden retriever husbands are great. So,
yeah.
Well, let's go through the lineup real quick because you've got kickoff at 6:30 at Twin Creeks Brewing in Vinton on August 14th. That's a Is that a Thursday? Mm-hmm. Thursday night? Okay. 6:30. And then you got a 9 o'clock comedy show, too. So if you can't come at 6:30, you can come at 9. No excuses. Got it. And then August 15th, starting at 5:30, you got Making a Dent variety show with Dylan Dent and Funny Womack at Brady's Distillery. So that sounds pretty fun. And also at a different spot. Like, I think it's really cool. You guys are kind of showing off all the different parts.
Oh, absolutely. And, like, the peek behind the curtain, some of these shows were at a completely different place a month ago. Like, if you're just an event in general, not just a comedy show, like Dent was supposed to be somewhere, the workshop's supposed to be somewhere else. Finding spots is a huge I thought the hard part was going to get the talent. I was wrong.
Now, festival organizers, they know exactly what you're talking about.
So this is my first try to do like a whole festival, and I was just like, geez, yikes.
Yeah.
So it's really cool.
It's on paper now, so you know.
Oh, yes. I've been wanting to print that for a couple weeks and just waiting till we finalize
this is great.
places.
So after they go see Dylan Dent and Funny Womack at Brady's Distillery, they could hop on over at 7:30 and see Rich Voss at 5 Points Music Sanctuary. It sounds like it's going to be an awesome show, and I love that venue. It's a great little space anyway.
Tyler Godsey and his crew over there are just truly, I mean, it is one of the most beautiful event spaces in Roanoke.
Oh my gosh.
And it's also accessible to independent event producers with far more favorable terms than you get from a lot of other places. Like, he really is a partner in this show.
To no one's great surprise, because it's Tyler.
He's incredible. He's incredible. I mean, that guy has done as much for the festival as any individual person.
That's awesome.
Yep. And so that's going to be a tremendous show. And
very cool.
They really do roll out the red carpet for the comedians, and their hospitality is next level. How
long do the shows run, actually? It's another good question.
An hour and a half to 2, usually.
Yeah.
Depending on how much, if they're on a roll, they'll go.
Sure, yeah.
But I know we have some local people opening up for Rich, right?
Yep.
Cool.
Yeah, and we got some. The other part of this festival that I think people need to know is how much local talent there is, and like regional. Like, there's a lot of people who are really good and really funny that I know we're highlighting the headlining shows because I want you to be there, but the Homegrown show, the all women's brunch show, like, these are comedians you might have not heard of, but you will in the future. Like, especially, like, I love Dylan. Dylan's great. All the women's, and the women's show, I want to give flowers to her. Catherine Rogue really stepped up when it came to the community show stuff, getting those lineups together, and like talking about when you look at a lineup and being like, oh, is that person going to work in that part of the lineup? Is that person going to work? Is this person going to bring people? Is this person going to hit? Or am I just doing this for nothing? Like, the headline shows are great, but also those local shows are going to be fantastic.
No, this is great. And let's dive into Saturday, because Saturday is like a massive day, like just amazing. Yeah. So August 16th, again, Saturday at 10 a.m. We're starting early at Star Hill for an improv workshop, which is super fun. I mean, if you ever dreamt about being like on SNL, this is like where you start, right? Like this is where you point zero. And then 12 p.m., which is where you're going to find me, is stand-up workshop at Star Hill again, which I think that's going to be so fun. Again, I'm not necessarily going to be brave enough to get on a stage, but as a writer, it's really important for me to understand how to rope in more humor or whatever. And I think that's a great way to do it. I'm not sitting down and just trying to be funny. You know, like, people are telling me how to think more, or, you know, a little more complex than I might normally about a joke or something.
Absolutely. And even if you never want to perform in your life or never want humor, and you're just wondering what it's like to be a stand-up comedian, it might make you a better audience member. I know that's kind of weird coming from a comedian, but
that's all you can hope for.
Hey, like, maybe
stop heckling people.
But it's just, you know, how comedy works, and I'm going to be there for sure.
Yeah, no, I'm super excited about that. And then at Big Lick at 2 p.m., you have a support local showcase. So what's that one about? Just all the locals you were talking about getting there?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I cast a wide net as far as like Taylor was saying, we have this kind of, it's an embarrassment of riches how many funny people we have around here. But
I love it.
I cast a wide net looking for talent, and there were so many people, like, right here in our backyard that I didn't get to offer spots to 80% of the people who reached out to me.
Really?
Because and so this really is a love letter to the people who are doing comedy in Roanoke day after day, attending all the mics in the area, and there are as many of those as there have been in a couple decades.
Yeah, and you may not know, are any of them, I'm sure some of them have participated or done stand-up before locally or somewhere else, but are any of them like super new or trying to get their feet wet, or, you know?
I think there might be a couple of people who are recently new, but are like, I'll even say Arthur Stump. He's on the Thursday show, actually. He's on one of the shows. He's not even a year in, but he's harnessed his energy, and there's just a lot of people you can tell that are ready to do stand-up from the beginning. So you got people who are just starting within a year, but then you have other people who, they love their day job, but they love doing stand-up, so they're gonna be
that's
there
all right.
as well.
There's no harm in that.
Yeah.
But that's a good point. We're talking about how you guys got started, but I mean, surely there are comedians out there who did a day job or did a career for a while and then decided, I think I want to do this. And so maybe even at 40, tell me how I can be inspired by that. At 40, I'm like, maybe I should learn about stand-up comedy, because that's something that I really enjoy, even just as an audience member. But like, you probably have comedians again, you're talking about diversity, so of all backgrounds and lifestyles and age groups too, not just about their sense of humor.
Yeah. There's a guy, Vince August, who was one of my favorite hosts that Caroline's had for its showcases. And he was literally, he was a New York City judge, and the state bar got wind of his
Furthest
comedy.
away from comedy you could possibly be, it feels like.
Yeah. So he's like a judge, and then he's going out at night like, I hate my wife, So he's much more highbrow than that. But the state bar basically told him, this is not becoming of a judge. And so, he hung up his robe, and now he's a full-time comedian.
Right, according to society expectation. But sure, that's fine.
I can't tell you how many lawyers are also stand-up
Are you
comedians.
for real?
Like, that's the one that surprises me the most.
Are they so serious in their day jobs? They're like, I just need some humor.
Kinda. Like, one got prescribed stand-up because he was having so much trouble in his day job.
I would like that prescription,
Yes.
please. That'd be great. Okay, so going on to 4 p.m. again, we're still talking about August 16th on Saturday at Big Lick Brewing at 4 p.m. Tell me more. Comedians play Dungeons and Dragons.
So that's my show.
Yeah, it is.
I love Dungeons and Dragons, and comedians are so good on their feet that...
that's interesting. Yeah.
So it's not just... We've talked about how I'm a photographer. Comedy makes me a better photographer because I'm better on my feet, not only jokes-wise, but also how to handle situations, problem solving, all that kind of stuff that we've been talking about this whole thing, and now putting me in an imaginary scenario where there are very little rules and just let them go. So I'm really excited. We got 4 Greg Arthur's going to be one of them, but I'll be releasing that lineup really soon, and it's just going to be like, let's have at it. Let's have some randomness.
How do you see that working exactly? Like, if I'm not a comedian, do I come in and do I watch it? Do I participate? Like,
so I'm going to have 4 comedians that are going to be their own characters in the audience, just to see hilarity ensue. I cannot wait. They've already told me their characters. And Brandy, our headliner on Sunday, is also going to be one of the participants.
Fantastic.
So I'm so excited.
Awesome. Okay, and then, of course, following, because the day's not done yet, at 7 p.m., you have Caitlin Cook at Hotel Roanoke. Tell us a little bit about Caitlin real quick.
Caitlin, she not just a comedian, but she does like this special show about bathroom graffiti, and she does it with a guitar. So it's not just stand-up. It's
multi-talented, okay.
Very multi-talented. It's more multimedia, but it's still hilarious. And she's got, not to, simmer down a person's talent by their followers, but she's got a lot of followers on Instagram. And that usually, like, we don't want to put people's worst toward that, but she's just multi-talented and being able to bring like a fun thing like bathroom graffiti into the limelight and make fun.
Well, I think that's a good point too. And sorry, so we'll continue that. But as a side note, not all comedy is necessarily just straightforward stand up there at the mic and tell a joke.
No.
Right? I mean, I think that's the classic, right? But like, what are other forms that comedians are bringing in, whether it's an age old or something new, that bathroom graffiti that hasn't been done before?
It's really unlimited in term. The most beautiful thing to me about stand-up is that there is no right way to do it. There are plenty of wrong ways to do it. And I've tried out most of them, I would say.
We'll go through that list later.
I mean, even among people who are just standing up with a microphone talking, like, it's a big difference between George Carlin and Tom Segura and Mitch Hedberg. Mm-hmm. Bobcat Goldthwait and Emo Phillips are not the same as Bill Burr, mm-hmm. right? Like, even within that kind of constraint, there are just unlimited ways of expressing your personality and talent, and that's what I love about it. And, so people like Caitlin have, used the full range of their talent mm-hmm. to put together their act. And that's not every comedian has to have a guitar with them on stage. Usually when I see a guitar comedian, my first thought is like, oh no, what's happening here?
Yeah, the rock stars who are like, I can do comedy, and you're like, please don't.
Yeah, please leave it to the homeschool kids.
Yeah.
But I mean, it really is unlimited, and that's why I love it.
Yeah, that's so interesting. Okay, so again, this is still not quite done yet, but at 9 p.m. at Hotel Roanoke after Caitlin, we're going to have Ryan Niemiller.
Yeah.
Sorry, Ryan Niemiller, whose photo looks awesome here. He looks very enthusiastic about something.
So Ryan's really special. One, he was one of the finalists on America's Got Talent,
Which is awesome.
Yes, but he also, and I don't want to put a fine to it, Ryan's just funny. Full stop. End it there. But also, he has deformative hands. Like, they're not like a usual 10 fingers, and he calls himself the cripple threat, which I think is so funny. But he doesn't get, the disability to bring him down. He's a father of one right now, and he is just genuinely kind and genuinely funny, and I don't think I've ever seen him in a room that he hasn't murdered. I met him way back when I lived in Michigan at Gilda's Laugh Fest, and we were just doing the same beginner showcase, and I was just like, why is he in the beginner showcase?
Yeah.
Why is he here? And I found out later they needed to stick him somewhere because they want him to be a part of it.
Wow.
So he's go to both, but
Ryan, I think you have a fan.
Yeah.
From day one, apparently.
Exactly.
That's
that was
awesome.
one I liked because I didn't go through any Asian. And I was like, Ryan, are you interested? Be here.
You're friends with him. I think that's awesome. Okay, so let's wrap up with Sunday, August 17th. This is the big one that I'm really excited about. 12 p.m. at Spot on Kirk is going to be the all-women comedy brunch show. So again, you were talking about the way that this came together. If you don't mind going over that again, because I think I'm really excited about this. Again, as a woman, I hate to sound like from Veep, but that's really exciting to me because I love comedy, but I love seeing women get up there and just tell jokes of whatever they feel like talking about. Screw society, tell your joke.
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
Exactly. This lineup was really curated by Catherine Rogue, one of our other producers, and she is such a force in our community for comedy in all generations, not just women, but she's also when we were actually doing this lineup, she was the first one to be like, hey, where are the ladies at? And we were like, yeah, where are the ladies yet? And she's such a constant voice for good in that kind of respect. So
I love it.
Making sure she had a show that she could show off all her very funny people that happen to be ladies. And I know before the show we were talking that sometimes you'll see popular women comics, all they talk about is sex and all that, because sometimes
vaginal humor.
Yeah, it's just skewed to appease the male audience.
Sorry, Mom, but it's vaginal humor. And
I want to be a part of making that just so that people are funny.
Yeah.
We're talking about Taylor Tomlinson. Yeah, she talks about it, but she's just funny.
Yeah.
And a lot of these people are just plain funny. And to selfishly promote, my wife will be making the brunch, so you should buy the brunch ticket.
Which I'm very excited about. I swear to God, I was like, well, it's going to be fun. And then you told me that. I was like, oh, well, now I'm having mimosas. That's the deal. So that's awesome. Okay, so then after the all-women comedy brunch show at Spot on Kirk, we are going to head over to Old Salem, Roanoke at 3 p.m. for the Old Salem Showcase. What's that one about?
So that's being spearheaded by one of our local comics, Garrett Brumfield, an incredibly talented, very funny man with a very cute dog.
Hudson, shout out.
So he's got
the dog in the show, or?
I don't know, because Garrett is got cerebral palsy.
Okay.
So you can continue from there.
Yeah, I mean, and so he's got some of his favorite, local comics coming up on that, and that's one thing that I've enjoyed about the development of the festival is I used to be like the eye in the sky, and every decision flowed through me, and I had to solve all the problems. But I found so much joy in being able to delegate and outsource a lot of these shows. This is a show that exists that I really had nothing to do with, and it's part of the festival. And, I'm thrilled to death that we have it. But, that is Garrett and some of his favorite funny people in the area. And that's a free show. That's not being ticketed.
Very cool.
You can just show up.
Yep.
Yeah, and he just started doing a more regular mic at Old Salem.
Cool.
I think he just had his second show last week.
Yeah.
So if you like that show, you can come back and all these most of these places that you can see comedy there.
Yeah.
Big Lake Brewing, Johnny does a mic every 2-ish weeks. And I would love to get stuff at Star Hill. I've done shows at Brady's. People love comedy.
Yeah, that's great. And then finally, we're rounding out the weekend at 6 p.m. at the Spot on Kirk with Brandy Augustus. Am I pronouncing that? Okay, thanks, Brandy. And so that looks like it's going to be a great show, too. So she's really kind of ending the weekend with a bang there, I guess.
Yeah, and she's very, very funny, very high energy. Just a really, the Sunday night show of the fest has historically been a very big personality in a very intimate space, and we don't want to keep people too late on Sunday.
Yeah.
Life does go on. Got to be at law school orientation the next day.
What?
So, yeah.
Wait, he's going backwards from what you said. He's going to law school. He's not coming over to comedy from law school.
I said he was going to law school. She's trying to...
Yeah, but no, Brandy, that show's going to be incredible. And one thing that we take pride in is that we try to keep our ticket prices accessible. Mm-hmm. I don't want anybody to be priced out of seeing a show. I think the absolute like VIP ticket at 5 Points might be like $60, but general admission I think is $30 for that.
Which is a deal, by the way.
Yeah. I mean,
to see that many acts, that much fun.
To see Rich Voss in that space, I think would be worth twice what we're charging. But I'm a little bit biased.
Yes.
But the other shows, we're talking $7, $10, $15.
Yeah, total deal.
So we want to keep it accessible.
Absolutely. And for people wondering about content stuff like that, like if you want, I think every comedian's going to be respectful, but if you're looking for like an inclusive act, go to the Brandy show. She talks a lot about really, some tough subjects, especially inclusivity about trans youth and gay youth and stuff like that. So if you want to support an act that's about inclusivity, you're not going to go wrong anyone else, but Brandy, I'm very psyched for the Brandy show.
Cool.
Because she's so funny.
Well, and not to pick on her, pick on you guys, but like, how do you know? Again, we're kind of going back to when you're creating jokes and telling them and understanding how they're landing with your audience. Like you were talking about, you're not a clean comic, just full stop. That's what it is. And so you have to, audiences should understand before they walk in that like you're not trying to offend them. This is your act.
Right.
You're not actively trying to.
I live with these thoughts every day. Like. I mean, I'm sorry. Misery loves company. I know who I am. I'm a gutter monster.
But like, how do you? So we're talking about. My next question was really about advice to people who want to be stand up or just. To, I mean, again, you're coming to the workshops. You're doing the right things by kind of easing your way into it, trying to figure out how to do it. But how do you know, like, how you want to approach your act? How do you know how to develop an act and make it so that if you want to be clean, you can do this, or you want to be filthy, you can do this act, like how, you're trying to cater to certain audiences, but again, staying true to yourself. I mean, this is a real balancing act you guys do, truly.
It is.
Well, and like you're a writer, you write what you know,
right.
You write what you care about. And that's like, if I had to tell you one thing, write what you know, because that's where you'll find personal connection and other people will find personal connection. You can get real specific about things.
I also write about like superheroes and supernatural circuses. So write what you know is sort of a...
But you have a passion for it. Like, about your passion. Guillermo del Toro is one of my favorite directors. Who else is going to write a movie about love of a river monster? No one. But he wanted to see it, so he wrote it. And that's kind of like how I approach comedy. It's just like, what do I think is funny? And then sometimes there are jokes I've told where I'm like, wow, no one got that, but I will say it because I think it's funny. And you do things for yourself.
Yeah.
And
that's a good point. That's a great point. The reason I ended up writing the books is because I wanted to read something like it. Nothing existed. So, damn it, I'm going to write it,
Exactly.
So that's a really interesting approach. It's like, oh, that applies to every industry. If it's something you want to see and isn't out there, why shouldn't you try to go for it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Though there are times, like Johnny said before, you've seen it all. And some of those things should not exist.
Right.
Only one way to find out.
Right.
You won't know until you give it a go.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I look, one of my favorite comics who plays this area a lot is Cliff Cash. And, Cliff is a guy who, lived in a van, did hundreds of shows a year for decades, more. And he finally, he released this special and he found his voice as like a very liberal political comedian. So inherently, 50% of America is going to hate his guts.
Right.
But he's got such a strong identity and has cultivated such a large online following that everywhere he goes, there are packed rooms of people who know exactly what they're getting. They love him for what he does socially and politically, and he's not worried about the 50% of people who are going to inherently be revulsed by his comedy. And the internet and social media have really democratized the process of getting your voice out and finding an audience, for better or worse.
Right.
But he's an example of a comedian who is very unapologetically true to himself, and has cultivated a rather zealous and loyal audience because of that.
Yeah. Well, I think that's interesting in terms of, so I think about, again, not to like harp all over him, but I really enjoyed Nate Bargatze's set, but I also think it's interesting that he's clean. He doesn't delve into politics. He has said that one of the reasons he believes that he kind of blew up when he did is because people were kind of trying to avoid all of the political dissonance, and so he was sort of able to step in and fill a gap and just be funny, right, about whatever, his family or his day-to-day or whatever. So I think that's interesting, but he still feels true to himself and what he feels, and he'll tell his background. I've read his book, talking about how he was raised, and so that is a huge factor in his stand-up. And so he's not gonna, he won't even say the word crap, It's so interesting to me. But I love that you're pointing out that any comedian, as long as they're true to themselves, they know what it is they want to do, and they hold fast to that, and they have maybe a thicker skin than me that can handle the sort of backlash that might come from it. And so in leading to my next question, what is, aside from hecklers, aside from creating an actual act, what are some of the harder challenges that you might face as a stand-up comedian? And I've got a guess, but I won't say it until you guys tell me if it's right.
Oh man, I think it's just the mental game. That was the thing. I had good material, I had great credits and experiences. The last thing I felt like I got right was the mind game. Not thinking, not being too full of myself, not being too hard on myself, understanding that this is an art that I'm trying to get better at, and giving myself grace while also holding myself to a certain standard. That is the hardest thing. That, and there's no shortage of really sketchy event producers. That's every comedian has horror stories about the lousy motels and the producers forgetting to pay them, and that can be one of the that can be challenging if you're like on the road trying to make it. I've never aspired to do this as a full-time profession. That distance helps me stay in love with it. But other people who are out there just grinding for 3-minute spots and $50 paychecks to fill up the tank to get to the next city over. That is a very, very hard way to live.
For exposure.
Absolutely. And to hop on to that, like, networking can be hard. Like,
it's already hard enough as it is.
So like, it's not necessarily the hardest thing, because some people are really good at networking and some aren't. I feel like I'm better at networking than not. But
I've seen you're great at networking.
Thank you. But being able to just be top of mind without being annoying. Like, there's sometimes that you get those people, we've had people be like, why am I not on the show? I want to be on the show. There's a difference between telling me, why am I not on your show? And, hey, I would love to do your show.
Right.
Like, some people don't know the difference in that statement. But slowly learning those statements and what you can say and when you can't say. Like, there's so many times I missed out on gigs because they were like, oh yeah, you'd be perfect. I just think about you. That's not offensive. It's just like, oh, I should just be in this person's ear more. Just ask them how they are. There's an end game, but then be interested in how they are. Like, Catherine does a lot of great shows, and she has these people that she really adores and uses, and because that's good networking. She's going to the North Carolina Comedy Festival, not even to perform, just to see who's out there. And that is just as important to comedy than knowing what you're doing.
That connection. Well, I was definitely going to say the hours. Speaking as someone who likes to go to bed by 10 p.m. already, I'm like, oh my God, that just sounds like trying to, but like you said, on the road, that's a hard life if you're really trying to hustle like every single day. And I really commend anybody, not just comedians, musicians, anybody who wants to live that life. As long as you're doing what you want to do and hitting your goals and not hurt anybody, go for it, but that seems stressful. Just like a lot. And, going to New York, it was like, you're probably hustling every single day up there trying to fight with all the other comedians, trying to get a spot on that stage.
And that's the thing is, in New York City, comedy it's plentiful to the point of distraction.
People were handing out, come to a comedy show,
Yeah.
like as we're walking to another comedy show. I was like, I'm going that way. Sorry, like it's just.
It's not, in Roanoke, it truly is like a commodity. It doesn't happen so often that people are assaulted by it daily, right? And so the audiences are thrilled, they see the value in what they're getting. And in New York City, I mean, some of the best comedians in the world are doing poorly attended basement shows for free.
Which is wild.
It's crazy.
That's wild.
But, the trade-off is if you're a young comedian trying to get better in New York, you've got 5-6 mics in a couple square blocks that you can hit, just one right after the other to get those reps in. And until fairly recently in Roanoke, there were a couple mics a couple times a month. And, your learning curve is going to be a whole lot longer if that's all the exposure you're getting.
Makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's how I felt like when I tried to get back into comedy, I was like, where is there a mic? And now I'm just like, I could almost go up every day if I really tried. That's how it was in Michigan. It was very like, you have in New York where you got this microcosm of a city that can do 5-6 times a night or whatever. But then in Michigan, you could go up every night, but you just got to go to Lansing and then Grand Rapids and then Kalamazoo. And you can go up every night, but you're traveling.
It's not walkable.
Yeah.
No.
I'm actually feel pretty lucky because, sometimes I'd have to travel to Lynchburg or out to Blacksburg, but that's still, you can go up a lot.
Yeah.
More than you used to just even a couple of years ago here. So.
Yeah. That's a good point, too, because we're close enough to Lynchburg, Blacksburg, those areas. So I really hope that we see people from, like you said, New River Valley coming down here for this weekend. Yep. I think kids are starting to go to school at that point, so maybe they need something to do that night and they're going to come out and hang out at the show one night. I mean, I think that's a great opportunity that you guys are offering everybody. So thank you for putting it on. I think it's going to be awesome.
Well, thank you. Just being here to spread the word means a lot to us.
Yeah, I'm excited. And, of course, it's not just because you're a 40 under 40, but it's amazing that, again, you as a leader in our community, for, whether you like it or not, you're leading the way and bringing something that, again, you're filling a gap that Roanoke needs. And the community is really going to benefit and chuckle at it. So I think it's awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you. Last thing, I was promised a joke.
Oh, okay. Hold on. Let me see. Do I have any that won't get your magazine shut down?
Oh, please don't do that.
Okay.
It's okay. Print and audio are different.
Okay. Let's see here. Okay, there's one that I really enjoy.
Okay.
And it's not a good joke, but I love it.
Yes, I love those the most.
Watson and Sherlock are in a field, and Sherlock shakes Watson awake, and he says, Watson, what do you observe? And Watson says, well, cosmologically, I observe that Venus is in direct alignment with Earth. Epistemologically, I observe that there must be a grand design and creator. Mathematically, I observe that we are but infinitesimal specks in an expansive universe. And Sherlock cuts him off and says, you idiot, someone has stolen our tent.
Thank you for that.
I love that.
I love that too. I love a Sherlock joke, so I think that's great. Well, thank you very much. I can't wait to see more of that. Tell me you're doing some stand-up throughout this weekend somewhere.
It's really funny.
Even in the corner outside 5 Points.
We did the whole lineup, and Catherine was like, did you want to perform? And I was like, I guess I'll be an afterthought. I'm fine with that. But no, I will be performing. I'll be hosting and emceeing the Rich Voss show.
Okay, excellent.
So otherwise, I've kept my hands off of it. I really do. I'm looking forward to a festival where I get to mostly just participate and watch the fruits of our labor.
And you're helping everybody else grow, so I think that's awesome.
And by the way, Taylor, why don't you have me on your D&D show? You monster.
I didn't know you know what dice looked like.
All right, whatever, man. We'll talk about this later.
Take it outside.
We'll talk about it in the car.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys. Anything else you guys want listeners to know or that we want to make sure we shout out?
Get your tickets now. It really helps us figure out, what we need to push more for. Because, like I said, all the shows are going to be great. We want to be able to make sure that Johnny doesn't lose anything on this.
Yeah, preferably. He's got law school to go to. So.
Yeah. Tis my point.
Yeah.
But RoanokeComedyFest.com.
Yeah.
Full lineup is there. Most of the ticket links. The only one that we're not selling from our website is the Rich Voss show. You have
Okay.
to buy that through 5 Points Music Sanctuary's box office.
Easy enough.
But everything else that's ticketed, you can read about the shows and buy those tickets at RoanokeComedyFest.com.
Perfect. Okay, we'll have those websites and links and all stuff on our website as well
you.
on this podcast page. We'll add it onto the YouTube and all that stuff too, so make sure you guys get a hit. And make sure to buy your tickets and sit with me at the All Women Comedy Brunch Show. We'll drink mimosas and get rowdy. Not heckle anybody, but we'll get a little rowdy. It's going to be a good time. Yeah. Johnny Taylor, thank you so much for being on the show today. Roanoke Comedy Fest is going to be a freaking blast. Super excited.
Thank you.
so
I didn't
much.
say the F-bomb, but I'm saving that for my stand-up. Okay, perfect. Thank you. And Roanoke, you got to find your funny bone here in the best possible way. Roanoke Comedy Fest isn't just about the laughs. You're going to build space for creativity, connection, and shared experience. And that's something we could all use a little more of right now. If you're ready to laugh until your face hurts or you're curious about stepping into the spotlight for your own stand-up act, head to RoanokeComedyFest.com to grab your tickets, check out the full lineup, and follow along on social for show updates and even all the guests that you're going to meet. We'll have that linked in our podcast episode and website for some easy clicks. If you'd like even more behind the scenes on Roanoke's arts and culture scene, grab the latest issue of The Roanoker or visit theroanoker.com. And of course, if you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with your funniest friend. We'll be back soon with more voices from the people and places that make our city shine. And until next time, this has been From Print to Podcast, where print comes to life one great story and killer punchline at a time.